think it is apt to call you the Raymond Chandler of Brooklyn. I can see that.
Well, you know.
Very much so, because I mean, part of what makes Chandler so wonderful is that Los Angeles is a speaking character in all of the books. Michael Connelly and I have talked about this forever. I think one reason people read Ian Rankin is to read about Edinburgh. And I think that in your books and your Mo Prager books, that Brooklyn is alive and well.
Well, alive.
Well, not actually
right,
well would make them difficult to write, because you need them not well.
Right.
But
that's, well, I take that as high praise. That's what I was aiming to do. Brooklyn is an interesting place to write about. And, you know, you like my books. A lot of people like my books, so they must think that as well. It's a great backdrop for writing about crime fiction. So I took this class, and I went to my wife, and I said,
honey,
we met in a writing class, honey, which we did. So she said, well, if you know, I'd rather be poor and you happy than us have a lot of money and be miserable, which I think is pretty smart on her part. Thank goodness she has a good job. And she said, go ahead.
So what did you do?
So I quit my job, my good-paying job, and without a plot, without any, you know, I'd never written a word of fiction. I mean, except for what I'd written in like 6th or 7th grade. So I quit my job based upon the desire to write.
And what emerged?
It took me a few years. I struggled because I didn't have any chops. I didn't even have rudimentary skills.
Did you read a lot?
I started then reading a lot.
I often think that's the best way to learn to write crime fiction or mystery, is just to read other people who've written it well.
Right. And you know what's interesting is it's, I don't want to mislead people, because I really believe you need talent to write. But you also need some basis. If you have talent, you need some basis. And so I really basically started absorbing Chandler and Hammett and Lawrence Block.
I saw that you were extremely fond. Is it the Matt Scudder books?
Yeah, the Scudder books. In fact, Peter Blauner has described me of taking Scudder's bar seat, you know, which I thought took as high praise.
That's very high praise. Peter, in his own way, writes really wonderfully poetic books about Manhattan, about New York, and New Jersey. Actually, I think one of the ones that I loved the best was the one where he was in the New Jersey, remember? I think it was New Jersey, on the other side of the Hudson.
Yeah.
And commuting, and it was kind of a post-9/11
Oh,
book.
no, that was in Westchester County.
Oh, was it Westchester?
Yeah, The Last Good Day, which is a book that, it's a great undervalued book that my wife scared my wife. My wife is a huge reader. I mean, just a huge crime fiction reader. She reads 2 or 3 books a week and listens to 1 or 2 books a week. You know, but she'll read everything from Peter Blauner to Lillian Jackson Braun. She's got a very broad range, and that book scared her. It was so disturbing. The Last Good Day is a very disturbing book, which is a great compliment. I think when I tell Peter that, he like smiles.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah, I emailed with him back and forth, and he came to see us for the book before that, which I also liked. No, maybe it was that book. And then he wrote the one about the detective that was going blind.
Slipping into darkness.
Right. I think that was the sequence.
Right.
I loved The Last Good Day, and then I really had wanted to talk to him face-to-face about Slipping into Darkness. He's working on some major epic at the moment.
Which I'm not sure I'm allowed to discuss.
Well, he and I have talked about it. We don't want to talk about it right now, but I do think it's too bad that he's, I mean, they're wonderful books, but the fact that they come out so slowly, it's basically like every book, he's a brand new author. We're starting all over again.
Peter researches his books, you know, to death. I mean, he gets everything down before, you know, and everybody's got their own style of doing it. All I know is, as a reader, I love them.
I do too. Well, we digressed, because actually what I was going to say is that I think one reason you really like the Scudders, one reason I like the Scudders is, again, New York, Manhattan, is what the Scudders, I mean, Scudder's a great guy, but the city is such an integral part of those books.
Right, especially Hell's Kitchen. That the west side of Manhattan is especially, you know, this really living character in his books. Fantastic. And I sat with him at the Edgars. So.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah. So.
Well, have you also read Sarah Gran? Have you read?
No.
Well, her novel Dope is a
Oh, right,
phenomenal
Grass.
book
I
about.
did actually read that. I just read that book actually, and to me it was sort of reminiscent of Megan Abbott's writing, not of
Yeah,
her writing.
they're actually friends.
Subject
I
wise, it
agree.
was interesting. I prefer. I mean, I shouldn't say this. I prefer Megan's writing.
Listen, reading
Right,
is all about,
right,
and writing is
right.
all about voice, and different things
Yeah,
happen to
I
different
thought the
people.
voice of Sarah's book was great, and I thought, it was simplistic, stylistically seemed simplistic, whereas Megan's writing is very lush and evocative. And although I think people pair them, they're sort of they write about similar subjects, but their style isn't, to me, is not similar.
I wouldn't disagree, although have you read Megan's new book, Queen
Yeah.
Pin?
Oh no, Queen Pin I haven't read yet.
Well, when you read Queen Pin,
I may
you may
change.
think it's Sarah. It's almost like that brilliant novel Drive that we published last year by Jim Salas.
I've read that book.
Okay, just enough words, Mr. Mozart. You
Right.
know, that kind of thing.
Not too many notes. Right?
That's it. Thank you. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Now, and Queen Pin is slim, but just enough notes, and a little bit different than Die a Little. And what's the second?
The Song Is You.
Thank you. The Song Is You, which I agree is much more lush, but she's doing Hollywood. She's up.
Right.
Well, anyway, back to where we were. So you took the writing class. Your wife said go for it.
Right, and I quit.
You know.
And I quit. So what I did was I took some, the kind of jobs, actors and writers, and
I mean, when they serve you the 7-Up and they say, actually, I'm a...
Right. That's right. That's what I did. I became a waiter, a bartender. I did all jobs where my writing schedule took precedence over the working schedule. So yeah, I did, all sorts of interesting jobs. And then we had kids, and, then I was a house dad. But what came of it was, after about 2 years of struggling with writing, I took a restaurant job as a waiter, and I quickly became a waiter trainer and a store opener, which Jeff Shelby, the author Jeff Shelby,
Right.
he and I have both done this, and we've toyed with writing a sort of a mystery, because when these big restaurants open, these big chain restaurants, they bring in opening crews, and both Jeff and I were members of opening crews. And what you do is you live in a different city for about 18 days, and you train a staff of 90 people, and we think that could be rich so I opened a restaurant on Long Island, and I met an ex-New York City OCCB detective, Organized Crime Control Bureau detective.
Wow.
Who happened to be from my old neighborhood, and he's a little older than me. His name's Tom McDonald, and we became immediate friends. And suddenly I had the characters from my first book, because it's a buddy book. The language is very Chandler derivative, sort of updated, but in the book's called Life Goes Sleeping. But it was a buddy, and so the relationship between Tom and I parallels the relationship in the book between Dylan Klein and Johnny McClough, who are the buddies in the book.
And when did that book publish?
1991.
And with whom?
Permanent Press.
Oh, so they did several books of
They
yours.
did 3.
Okay. Because I remember Walking the Perfect Square.
They
but I
did
think-
4, actually. They did the
okay, that's what
hardcover
I
of that.
thought,
They did the
yeah.
hardcover of that.
So what were your first 4 books then?
Life Goes Sleeping, Little Easter, They Don't Play Stickball in Milwaukee, and Walking the Perfect Square.
And that was the one that really got you a lot of
right.
review attention.
Yeah, I never forget, because it was a Saturday morning, and I was delivering oil. I have a commercial driver's license and a hazardous materials driver's license. So I deliver home heating oil. And I was in a truck, and it was a Saturday, December morning, and you can imagine in New York, it's pretty cold in mid-December. And I got a call from my oldest brother, Jules, who said, I just stole the New York Times book review from my neighbor's paper. So listen. And it was a review by Marilyn Stasio of Walking the Perfect Square, which, as the best review, the best thing that can happen if it's a good review. And by all accounts, it's the best review she's probably ever given a book in one of those roundup things. It's a great review.